5 wild NBA trades that could happen right now. This was written a couple days ago. What's the date today? This was written a couple days ago, April 14th, 2025. And apparently there's a proposed Joel Embiid trade in this article. So let's find it and let's say what we think about it. Because I don't think there's any possible Joel Embiid trade. I don't think there's any possible Paul George trade. And again, it's Bleacher Report. Take it with a grain of salt, but I'm bored. And I have nothing to talk about, to be totally honest with you. Thank you guys for being here. 115 people in here. Let me know what you're doing, man. Let me know what you're doing. Where are you at? What you doing right now? There is still some post-play. Wow, I can't even read. Let's try to start this over. Edit. There is still some post-play and dust to settle, but 10 of the NBA teams are officially in off-season mode, and that means it's time to start thinking about trades. All right, number 1, Lauri Markanen to the Pelicans. I've talked a lot, not a lot, but I've talked a little bit about Lauri Markkanen and the Utah Jazz and how I feel like they're just, I don't understand what Danny Ainge is doing. I know Danny Ainge is, I've said before, he's the best GM of all time. He built the Boston Celtics. He took over the Jazz. Brad Stevens is his understudy. But I just feel like he's overplaying his hand with the Lauri Markkanen situation and kind of wasting his prime. And I think the value for Lauri Markkanen was at an all-time high this past offseason, and the value might be going down as he ages another year, and also he only averaged 17 points per game last season on a bad team. Anyway, here's the trade proposal for Lauri Markkanen. CJ McCollum, Jordan Hawkins, and a 2026 first-round pick and a 2028 first-round pick. See, that's not a lot. If that's what the Jazz end up trading Lauri Markkanen for, then that's a loss, because this past offseason they could have gotten way more. If these are unprotected picks, it's a good move for the Jazz. they stacked draft picks with the Rudy Gobert trade. They stacked draft picks with the Donovan Mitchell trade. They're going to be in OKC territory in a couple of years, where they have a lot of high draft picks, young players, and future draft picks. But I feel like that's a loss if that's what they get for Lauri Markkanen, because they could have gotten way more this past offseason. Kevin Durant to the Spurs. Kevin Durant to the Spurs. I just heard that the Houston Rockets are not interested in trading for Kevin Durant because he doesn't fit their timeline of their players. I love that. I love that those owners or GMs are making that decision. That's a decision that Daryl Morey and the Sixers can't seem to make, is getting players that fit timelines of other players. They just, he was a 10-time All-Star. Get him right now. Give him all the money. Do whatever you can. No real thought behind it. I like that teams are like, he doesn't, even though it's Kevin Durant and he's a 15-time All-Star, whatever it is, he doesn't fit the timeline. At least that's what the Houston Rockets have claimed. But the San Antonio Spurs, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, Julian Champagnie, a 2026 first-round pick, and a 2029 pick swap for Kevin Durant. It's hard to say what Kevin Durant is worth at this point of his career, He's still really, really good. Still really, really good. If you look at advanced numbers and like shooting splits, Kevin Durant is still at the top. So Kevin Durant still has, I would say at least, if healthy, I would say he has at least 3 more years playing at this level. He's in great shape, and he's still at the top of all of the shooting splits in the NBA, catch and shoot, pull up, jumpers, all that. So, if the Spurs could add Kevin Durant, you could kind of fast forward the timeline of Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. Although De'Aaron Fox is probably on his way to like late 20s, early 30s at this point, isn't he? Which, by the way, I want to give my opinion on the Kings a little bit later in this stream, because they are one of the teams that are worse off than the Philadelphia 76ers somehow, some way. That's interesting. I feel like it's not enough. I still think Kevin Durant is going to bring you back more than these 4 players and these 2 first-round draft picks. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that gets done. Devin Booker to the who wrote this? The Suns have already claimed that this is insane. Okay, this is come on, Bleacher Report. We're trying to give you credibility here. You got to at least do your research. It's already been rumored that the Suns are 100% offering Devin Booker a 2-year extension at $150 million. They're not trading Devin Booker. They're not. He's 28 years old. They're not trading Devin Booker. They're going to try again to build around Devin Booker like they did a couple years ago when they ended up in the NBA Finals with Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and those guys. They're not trading Devin Booker. That's ridiculous. Where's the Joel Embiid one? Wait. Oh, Joel Embiid to the Wizards. What? Okay, let's read it first and I guess give our opinion on it. To the Wizards. For Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, a 2027 first-round pick, and a lottery-protected 2029 first-round pick for Joel Embiid. First thing I'm going to say is if you can get with Joel Embiid at this point of his career, with the amount of injuries that he's had, with the, grim outlook, the just feeling that, what's the word? I'm not good with words. I'm not one of these writers that can come up with these huge words, you know what I mean? But the feeling that he's trending downward, and it's hard to imagine him getting back to an all-star level with the knee issue. With all of that, if you could get an unprotected if you could get off of the ridiculous extension that Daryl Morey signed him to and get any unprotected first-round draft pick from anybody, I would say yes, because it's hard to imagine any team taking that contract for a guy that played 13 games last season and just got another knee surgery. But if you could end up with a first-round draft pick on top of that, yeah, I would 100% do it. It sucks. I would 100% do it. And by the way, with the Joel Embiid stuff, with me saying trade Embiid and all this stuff, and he's done, he's cooked, he's not coming back. I would love to be wrong. There's plenty of Joel Embiid truthers, Joel Embiid defenders, Joel Embiid stands on the internet that hate when I say things like this. I would love to be wrong. I'm just saying what I honestly think. If Joel Embiid, if his knee somehow responds well and he gets back to 80% of what he was doing those MVP years, I would love to be wrong. And if they would trade him and then that happens, that would just be very 76ers like. But like Kawhi is playing at a high level right now at 33 years old with multiple knee surgeries, if it happens, I would be ecstatic that I was wrong about it. It's just very hard to imagine it happening. Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, a 2027 first. Also, when you think of what franchises would actually be in the position to take a chance on him, take on that ridiculous extension that doesn't start until next season. So he's literally on a Paul George contract starting next season. He's on a 4-year, $50 million per year contract starting next season. So, it's hard to imagine any team being willing to take on that contract. But if there is a team that is desperate enough for attention, number one is attention. If there's a team that is desperate enough to sell tickets, to bring in a solidified, if healthy, superstar, the Washington Wizards are one of those teams. And if they would trade him this offseason, which I don't think they're going to, because I don't think Daryl Morey is going to. For like I've said 100 times, if for anything major to change with the Sixers, the GM has to be the president of basketball operations, whatever his title is, it has to be changed. The front office has to be changed for anything to change. According to Morey and company, they're going to just run it back and try again, which is insane because I don't know how you're going to sell any season tickets, but maybe they'll do damage control throughout the offseason and Joel Embiid's healthy and they'll start showing, practice clips or him scrimmaging and him dunking on somebody. Then they show it on ESPN. There's going to have to be a whole plan to get the fan base excited to try this again. So I don't think they're going to trade him anyway, but if they were going to trade him, I don't think this is incredibly unrealistic because I think the Washington Wizards would be one of the only franchises in the NBA that would be desperate enough for a big name to just pull the trigger and say, we don't have a plan outside of that, so fuck it, let's do it. You know what I mean? We overpaid Jordan Poole. That's how ridiculous we are. You know what I mean? We have Malcolm Brogdon on our roster. I forgot that. That guy, when's the last time he played a basketball game? Overpaid or traded for Kyle Kuzma, then traded him again. Just nothing is happening in Washington. So, they are a team that I guess. Can you guys think of another team that would be desperate enough to do that? Trading Embiid after that 2023 MVP season would have been so ideal. Yeah, hindsight's 2020. The only person that probably would have done that is Howie Roseman. Dude, I love so much how Howie Roseman runs a sports team. He has no emotional connection to anyone or anything. He runs it 100% strictly business. And a player is at their highest value, approaching 29 years old. He knows, especially like a tight end position, he knows I can get another one in the draft. Now, you can't get another Joel Embiid in the draft. This isn't like the NFL. You can't compare football to basketball. But he sees players reaching their peak, and he, bam, flips them for value right away. And he just lets the fan base cry about it. He does not give a shit what anybody thinks. And that's why the Eagles are always good. The Sixers cannot do that. Daryl Morey doesn't have that gene. He doesn't have that ability to, hey, I see this trending downward in the next 3 to 4 years. I'm going to flip it and try to fix it before it gets too bad. He doesn't have that ability. He's not smart enough. And I don't think he really knows what he's doing. But yeah, I could see the Wizard, if there was a team that was going to be desperate enough to do it, I could see the Wizards doing it. And then you know exactly what would happen. You could see the Hornets. I was going to say the Hornets too. That's not a bad take. Kings, Jazz. The Jazz is a good one too. The Hornets is a good one because, again, a team that doesn't have a plan, never seems to have a plan. One of those teams that you're just like, how is there even any fans in the building? You're just watching LaMelo Ball jog around and shoot jumpers like he's at the YMCA. The Kings are in salary cap hell. So they would be, the Sixers would have to get back DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, something like that. My cats are now fighting in the other room. All right. Utah Jazz is an interesting one because when you look at teams like that could take a contract like that, a team like the a team like the Jazz is interesting. They're not going to be good for a long time, but they're not interested in being good for a long time. They're going to be stacking draft picks for a long time. I don't think to trade for Joel Embiid, you would have to be interested in winning right now. The Jazz, I don't see that one. I don't see that one happening. The Wizards might. Yeah, I don't know. Give me your thoughts in the chat. Give me your thoughts in the comments if you're watching this back. And then we have Zion Williamson to the Hornets. Wow. That would be the most Charlotte Hornets move in the history of the Charlotte Hornets. Now you got a young point guard who plays the game like he's on an and one mixtape and just does not really affect winning at all. He'll shoot 17 3-pointers in the first half of a game. Doesn't give a damn what's going on. Pulls off in his purple Rolls Royce and calls it a day. You got another guy who's a convicted woman beater, child abuser. And then you add a guy who's maybe less dedicated to the game than both of those guys. Dude, that would be so Charlotte Hornets. But Zion Williamson is 24 years old, 25 years old. So the thing about Zion is the if healthy, right? Like we say if healthy about Joel Embiid, but you're like, dude, he's 30. He's had multiple knee surgeries. He's cooked, right? If healthy Paul George, dude, he's 34, going to be 35. He's cooked, right? You can still get away with saying if healthy with a guy like Zion Williamson because at his age, right? It's the same thing with the Mavs, I guess, trading Luka Doncic at such a young age. And the Lakers are like, all right, they said he's not dedicated to his fitness or his diet, but he's young enough to change that trajectory. Zion would be 350 on the Hornets. That would be a very Charlotte Hornets thing to do. But yeah, there you go. Zion to the Hornets. Was that the fifth one? Zion to the Hornets. That would be very Charlotte Hornets. Embiid to the Wizards would just be sad. But I think the Wizards are one of the only franchises I could see actually being desperate enough for a big name to do that. And then again, you know exactly what would happen. He would get healthy and he would get back to MVP form and he would completely transform the Washington Wizards franchise and they would go on to win multiple NBA championships and the Sixers would be sitting here like, wow. Wouldn't shock me. Nothing shocks me anymore.